Well, welcome to another episode of Horror of the Worlds, where we talk about horror movies and how they got started, or the influences at least.
Yeah.
I'm Curtis Gerhardt.
I'm Stephen Miller.
There's no radio at all. Not even with the bombing plane that's coming over. All radio is dead.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
And today we're talking about, I guess, seasonal horror.
Yeah,
You know-
what gets you in the mood for the season?
Pretty much, like this season we're talking about fall. Something that actually feels like that fall, almost, at least for me, Halloween feeling, because to me they just go hand in hand, unfortunately.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, this isn't the first, because I mean, seasonal horror movies have been around since 1901, with Scrooge or Marley's Ghost that came out in 1901, 1916's The Right to Be Happy, and it started those are both Christmas movies. So Christmas was a first horror genre,
Yeah,
for
the
seasonal,
ruler of the whole seasons.
which when it comes to poetry, snow usually represented death. So, but it got more big in the 70s. You could look at something a little bit more sparse that's becoming a little bit more bigger and well known now, which is Frogs. That came out in 1972, which is a 4th of July movie.
I did not know that.
Which is,
All
but
right,
it happens
yeah.
on 4th of July, so it's not
It's
so
like-
much 4th of July, but on.
Right.
And you also have Silent Night, Bloody Night, which came out in 1972. Christmas, if you couldn't guess it.
Yeah.
But when I actually think about, at least for me, when I think of a seasonal horror movie, it's usually one of two movies, or what started this genre. I usually think of Black Christmas, Bob Clark's Black Christmas, that came out in 1974.
All right.
Because that one just kind of, it just kind of hits all right, it's Christmas time. This actually feels like the holiday. It feels like a season to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
I understand that. I get that.
the one that actually started this whole genre, or this whole seasonal genre, is none other than Halloween. 1978's John Carpenter's Halloween.
Absolutely. They nailed it in every single fucking way.
Mm-hmm.
I heard, if I remember correctly, they had to put a lot of effort into that because it wasn't necessarily shot during the season.
Oh no, and it's California. It was shot in California as well.
Oh shit! Yeah, there's only one season.
Well, there's two seasons. There's the good season and the bad season. Which the bad season is it's 70 degrees out,
Yeah.
and the good season is, I don't know. It's just always kind of the same fucking weather there. They skip out on all the shitty different seasons.
Right.
Compared to up here in Washington, where we get all the lovely seasons. We get rain and humidity and rain.
Rain is kind of cold rain
Yeah.
versus warm rain.
So we get two seasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I feel like everyone knows Halloween.
Wow.
It's started, I think, a lot of people's love for that Halloween feeling, that fall feeling, because they did an incredible job making it feel like fall.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it wasn't Halloween, because it wasn't named Halloween to begin with. Was it a babysitter murderers or babysitter murder?
Yeah, babysitter murder.
And even then, Halloween did sell a lot better, but it still felt like fall.
Absolutely.
It had to be called Halloween to feel
Watching
like
the
fall.
movie, you felt the chill in the air, and there was no fucking chill. So
Down to the
that's
painted
great.
leaves that they
Yeah.
threw down the streets. That movie is a fucking classic, but we're not going to go way in depth into Halloween because I kind of want to talk about John Carpenter's Halloween in the later episodes.
Yeah.
Definitely. But almost speaking of John Carpenter, this movie has an homage to John Carpenter.
Is that so?
Yes. So this movie that we're talking about is directed by Mike Dougherty. I actually think I pronounced his last name correctly. It came out in 2009 on DVD because of whatever weird bullshit that was going on. I can't exactly remember. Called Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
This is the one night.
Don't forget your costume.
This is a very loved movie.
I know why that one didn't come out in theaters.
Well, what was the reason why? Do you?
Oh, it's because Saw was ruling the box office. It was hard competition to keep up.
I do remember hearing about that.
Yeah, and that guy had to hand deliver his shit to make it get out there, and it still only ended up being. It's a cult classic now. It took a lot of footwork apparently though.
Yeah, no, it took the fans' love for it because I think it was originally a short that he just made it into a movie as well.
I'm not surprised about that. I could feel that. It feels like he put several shorts together to make one solid ass movie, in my opinion. But
well, that's the thing too. Like this movie, like I'll start this off with probably the most, I guess, my worst quality in me is I don't care for this movie. You know, I'm not hopping on a bandwagon. I'm not like because there's a lot of people that love this movie. I understand why people love it. I really do understand, and I want to love this movie. I don't love it though.
It's a classic Halloween kind of story. I mean, I remember watching Scooby-Doo episodes with a similar structure going on. And this one, I felt like it captured it pretty well. So I'm kind of surprised to hear you didn't like it.
That's the thing. I rewatched it for this episode. I was like, all right, maybe, it's just over time. I'll love it now. It's like, I still don't. It has everything there. It has zombies. It has evil demons. It has werewolves, pretty women.
That's weird, man. I mean, I guess they can't all be winners, but I felt like this one deserves to be a cult classic.
It is
sure.
That's the thing. I understand why people love it. It's just this is a personal thing for me. I don't get it. I hate me. Send bad comments on this one. That's the thing though. I can't talk shit about this movie. It's just I didn't connect with it. That's purely it. I didn't connect with it.
No, that's fair.
It starts off like in Warren Valley, Ohio, which is this movie is a perfect anthology movie.
Yes.
Because the wraparounds, everything connects. You feel that everything happens in one night. During one story, you have background characters from a different story that you haven't seen yet walking in the background.
Yeah, you see them cross paths several times throughout the movie.
I
like that. They paid attention to the details.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they had 7 directors walking around this motherfucker at the same time to make sure it got set right.
And that's one of the things. That's why it's so amazing too, because it flows so incredibly well. Where it is shot out of order, but it doesn't feel like it's actually shot out of order.
Right.
Which is like a great feat to get.
Absolutely.
Or to have under it. But yeah, no, the movie starts off with that person that we all fucking hate. The guy it wasn't a guy this time. It was a woman that pretty much hates Halloween. And the moment they get home from the street party, wants to tear down the Halloween decoration on Halloween night.
So you gotta let it go. I mean, at least one more day.
It's like Christmas, like what? You're supposed to keep the Christmas tree up, a week or two or whatever after Christmas or something?
Let it die in the living room a little longer.
Wait until it becomes an actual fire hazard, then you throw it away?
Yeah.
Like, that's what Halloween Christmas ornaments or Halloween ornaments are supposed to be, up until they eventually rot.
Yeah. Unless some of us have them in our house all year round as regular decor, but to each their own.
They say Halloween, I just call it decor. But she definitely gets what's coming to her.
Oh, absolutely.
By none other than the one that is a poster child for this movie. It's literally on the poster. It's on the DVDs that you get. It's more than likely on whatever streaming service thumbnail they're using. Sam. The little pumpkin-headed burlap
child. Mm-hmm. Burlap sack wearing, carrying around a candy.
I didn't realize until I was doing a little bit more research into it that he's actually named after Samhain.
Oh, really?
That's how they got the name Sam, because Samhain is actually spelled like Sam Hain or Sam Hain and stuff. So they just kind of took it from Sam to Sam to Sam, which it's a cool little tidbit.
Pretty cool.
But there's all those the connective tissues, because I want to say the guy that was playing the John Carpenter or the character that Brian Cox was playing.
Oh yeah,
and stuff.
The grumpy ass old man.
Yes. And if you don't know who Brian Cox is, he's one of the morticians in Autopsy of Jane Doe.
He's the lead in Super Troopers. He's the captain.
Yes. God, that was such a fucking amazing movie too.
Yeah.
Oh no, he plays a Mr. Krieg. But yeah, he's the one that his looks. He actually had prosthetics on. He ended up having a cough. Like he wanted to take on. Not so much he wanted to. Mike Doherty and Brian Cox wanted to do an homage to him, which I'll see if I can find a picture. If I can't, you won't see it here. But it's that's a whole love with this. But I want to say is when he was watching TV, like during the whole news thing, they spoiled the whole movie on the news. Like where it's like, oh yeah, you have werewolves, you have zombies, and all like demons, like tonight, and all those things happened this night
in order almost. I mean, it was great.
But I mean, this is also a star-studded cast as well.
Yeah, some of these people, I feel like most of them were at least getting famous afterwards. I can't remember her name, but she played Rogue in X-Men. I want to say that I saw her in X-Men before I saw her in this, but I don't
want to say that as well.
Because I know I didn't see this movie till way after.
Anna Paquin.
Yes.
Like she also played in True Blood.
Yeah,
she's the main actress in it.
Suki.
So quick synopsis on Trick or Treat is 5 Halloween stories, and a principal has a secret life. A virgin is looking for her first time. A group of kids pull a prank. A woman who loathes Halloween does not respect the rules, and a mean old man meets a demonic trick-or-treater.
Yeah. It is a very well-rounded movie, in my opinion. It feels like they're gonna just overly cram shit in there and leave like ends unmet, but they full circle the whole fucking movie. They did a great job with it, especially with the way it bounces around.
That's exactly it. There's talking about like Anna Paquin and stuff. Like even the guy that I remembered, because I think I watched Bad Grandpa or Bad Santa. Before this movie, and it's like that's the same kid, and the kid's throwing up and vomiting,
knocking over shit, breaking pumpkins.
He's an asshole kid. I don't know. There's not like that's the thing. There's so much good about this. The feeling is there. This feels like Halloween. This feels like fall for me. Like the spooks are there. This creepiness is there. I don't know why you don't like it.
It's just weird.
I don't know why it doesn't click. I mean. Halloween Town, I was almost going to thinking about doing Halloween Town because it feels like fall. Like to me, that just feels like fall.
Now
Halloween.
that's one I couldn't get into, but I'm a big fan of Hocus Pocus.
And that's another one, Hocus Pocus as well. Like that's another. Like it's just those movies feel like fall.
Yeah,
but they also feel like Halloween. So it's just like that toss up of, should I talk about Trick or Treat or should I talk about Halloween Town?
Nah, I get it. I feel like this one made me feel more like a kid again when I was watching it. Like I felt like I had a lot of memories come back when I watched it, even if it was for just a little bit. Like from the
werewolf scenes are freaking amazing as well.
Oh yeah, man! I thought that was gonna be a bit more low budget, but that shit it feels like they put a lot of work into the makeup and all that.
If I remember correctly, the only like CG that they used was like very minimal, like replacing wire, like hiding some of those things, and a lot of it was practical, like the typical, the same thing that they did in The Howling, because that scene was also an homage to that movie as well.
Yes, I definitely took notice of that.
But that was the thing, like they use like shadows as transformation. They kind of use the cutaways for transformation. This movie is perfect on so many levels.
Yeah. And I felt like I was a little surprised about it. Like, at the end. I was expecting witches. I didn't get as much witches as I thought I'd get. And that's not a problem.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. It was a very pleasant surprise.
I actually expected that coven, or that pact, I should say, not so much coven, that pact to be witches.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. I was like, all right, so now we're going to start flying on broomsticks or some shit. Nope.
Yeah, you have these beautiful women become werewolves.
Yeah. And just start ripping motherfuckers apart. That's the fucking best. Very rarely do you see that. I mean, The Howling 2 was the first time you saw that, I guess. I mean, it's usually a guy turning into a wolf and tearing up the town. But this one,
yeah,
they threw you for a loop. It was great. That it was a pack of them, too. That was even better.
It wasn't just one that just, like, all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And there were so many subtle homages to this, too. Like, the story was ruined if you actually pay attention to what's going on in the background or what someone's actually saying, the dialogue, or like it ruins everything if you're paying that much attention. But
it still is so good. There's so many little details, so much going on in there. Like it feels like this one's a hard one to spoil. You have to experience it, and you're not gonna have a problem watching it every fucking year.
It's still almost an annual watch for me, even though I don't care for it. It's just I want to love this movie. Maybe it might click with me eventually.
You're trying to brainwash yourself into it. I appreciate that. So today I'll be talking about 1988's Pumpkinhead.
Raising the dead ain't within my power.
Will it be all right? Should I be afraid? It's coming!
Looking for an old woman. She lives somewhere in the mountains hereabouts.
All she can do is take you straight to hell.
Directed by Stan Winston. Synopsis is, after his son dies in a hit-and-run accident, Ed Harley, played by Lance Herkinson, seeks revenge against the teenagers responsible with the help of a local witch, Florence Schaefer. Ed summons the vengeful demon Pumpkinhead to hunt and kill the group of friends. But when Ed discovers a bond between himself and the creature, he begins to have second thoughts about employing the vicious monster, and he fights to end Pumpkinhead's murderous rampage before it's too late. This movie, I was surprised to enjoy it so much. I feel like there's a lot of hidden gems from this era.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, this is definitely a hidden gem. Because I definitely didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did.
This is that weird hidden gem too. Like I want to say it's I guess more of a hidden gem for us, like our generation. I kind of feel comfortable saying, like the ones that are actually interested in 80s horror movies or something, because it is like because compared to, I want to say, like this generation of horror fans, they're more into, the A24 or something, or even Ghostface with Scream.
Yeah,
they're like into those kind of things. Talk to Me.
I like a good curse, and I feel like that's kind of what helped capture the whole season to me.
Mm-hmm.
Was the curse thing, that, and it feels like everything had an orange tint to it.
It did, yeah. That's one thing I do remember, because I think I've only seen this movie once or maybe twice. Like, other than that, I came really close to ordering like the third scale statue of Pumpkinhead.
Yeah,
it's just such a beautiful statue. That and the cicadas, you always hear in it.
Oh my god.
Like, it felt like a warm, like even just watching it felt like a desert night.
Yeah, it definitely did. This is definitely one of those desert horrors. So the inspiration for this is what surprised me the most. I thought this was going to be some kind of like old folklore or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This was actually inspired by a poem written by a man named Ed Justin, who wrote a poem to scare his kids. He'd tell him this story or this poem before bed, like a little ghost story, right?
I fucking love it, like Grimm's fairy tales.
Yeah, and then one of his buddies bought it up just in case he later on wanted to make a horror film. I'm not sure how Stan got a hold of it,
right.
But obviously it ended up being good enough to turn into a movie. Here's the poem. Keep away from Pumpkinhead unless you're tired of living. His enemies are mostly dead. He's mean and unforgiving. Laugh at him and you're undone, but in some dreadful fashion. Vengeance he considers fun and plans it with a passion. Time will not erase a bolt, a plot that he has brewing. It's when you think that he's forgot, he'll conjure your undoing. Bolt the doors and windows barred. Guard dogs prowling in the yard. Won't protect you in your bed. Nothing will from Pumpkinhead.
That's a solid ass fucking
It's
poem.
fucking great, right? I mean, they brought a lot into it too, because I
feel like that would actually probably scare the shit out of me as a kid. I wouldn't go to sleep.
I was like, fuck you, Dad. But yeah, this dude brought Pumpkinhead to life, and you could have gone in several different directions with the way you could have made this creature come to life, and it clearly isn't because this guy's named Pumpkin, or he looks like he's got a pumpkin head that they call him Pumpkinhead. It's actually because in order to activate the curse, you have to dig up a corpse that was buried in a pumpkin patch. That's how you summon Pumpkinhead.
So it's almost, because that's the thing, I don't really remember. The only thing I remember in this movie was the asshole kids on that kills a kid.
Yeah.
I think. And they actually killed a kid.
Yes.
And stuff. That's one thing I was kind of surprised about. I was like, it's also the 80s. It felt more a pet cemetery.
Yes, and then that's where it kind of is. He buries his son in the pumpkin patch. And that's pretty much how he summons Pumpkinhead from there on. But when, It was a big mistake, and he didn't realize it till it was long done, because he lives in this podunk-ass area, and everything that's being told is an old folklore from, like, way back. I can't remember the time frame of it, but when you watch it, the first family, it's the Wallace family, which, fun fact, Mia Balik, who was Amy in The Big Bang Theory, she was actually one of the little kids in the Wallace family at the beginning there. So this is like her film debut, as well as Stan Winston's directorial debut. And
fucking banger, because he was more so like not props, but more like behind the scenes, like the movie magic,
right?
Which probably helped this movie actually take off the way it did, because he knew how to shoot certain angles and to make the props and the actual effects look good.
So many fun facts about this movie. Like, I think the cabin that's in the beginning, and I can't remember what time frame. Like I said, I'm sorry about that. It's a long time removed, long enough for this old man to not know what the hell he's doing when he summons this pumpkin demon. But the way it pretty much it was shot was, it felt like they used a lot of props from other places. I feel like it was Friday the 13th, the final chapter. The same cabin that they used in that movie was actually used in this movie as well. So it felt like they were recycling a lot of stuff and giving it that familiarity throughout the whole thing.
Which, I mean, is not surprising, and it works. Because I don't think, unless you read that, or you're that one of those diehard fans where you know every little detail.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to watch some of this and go, oh, yeah, I've seen that shit before. Like, at least for me it is.
Yeah, unless there's like that actual legitimate homage of like, oh, that was from Freddy Krueger, like the glove in Evil Dead or something like that. Those kind of like, you'll notice those if you look in the background, but the way they shoot these things, the coloring, whatever gels they use over the lens, if they were using gels, like, it's just, they hide stuff so incredibly well when it comes to a lot of these things.
Absolutely.
Doesn't take away from the movie either. Like, I've been wanting to watch, what is it, like 5 Pumpkinheads? I think there's like 4 or 5 Pumpkinheads.
I was actually surprised to find out how many there were, because with the first one doing so good, I mean, sometimes I'm just surprised that some of them go for as long as they do. Right. I thought there was actually only 2.
No, again, like they joked about, like, on Holliston, one of my favorite TV shows, my guilty pleasure TV shows, like, where it's like, oh, are you a horror fan? Or like, what about Pumpkinhead 4? It's like, there's a 4th? It's that shit. Joke, it's almost like Leprechaun. You don't really realize how many leprechauns there are until you start looking them all up, and it's like, holy shit.
I can't remember who said it, but when a movie's gone on too long, when they send the character into space, Jason was the one that got that. It was somebody from Chucky. They're like, you've gone too far when you have to send your character into space in order to keep it relative.
I think that's what Don Mancini's one of his next plans was to actually do, was send Chucky to space on season 4 or 5 or some shit.
He's like, we're obviously going to have to call it quits after this. But it got canceled beforehand, so that's a damn shame.
I mean, hopefully another series, like another station picks it up.
Maybe,
rumors, but there's always rumors. I don't know anything, and it's unfortunate.
Some of the other things that actually inspired this, not just a poem, the look of Pumpkinhead himself, as well as some of the other makeup throughout the movie, was inspired by old fairy tales, etchings, and Roman Polanski's version of Macbeth. That's where Stan Winston got his inspiration for the look overall. I'd like to know exactly what etchings he looked at to end up getting that, because the Pumpkinhead costume looks vaguely familiar, because he also did the makeup for Aliens in '86. So you see the long legs, the rib cage kind of exposure thing. I mean, overall, it's a 60-pound costume this motherfucker had to wear on stage.
And it's not anatomically fitting to the human body as well.
Because that's looked like he had stilts on or something like that to give him those.
That's the whole thing. Like, that's one thing I love about these practical effects, on top of like CG's helped out a lot, like with computer.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, it's like you can actually have it like with the knees bend backwards, which I want to say is like on Pumpkinhead, but our knees don't bend that way, so you could just kind of like erase our legs and just kind of keep that look.
Yeah.
It allows for these practical monsters to stay practical, stay scary. Like, I mean, it gives actors something to be frightful of. Seeing this creature.
Right. One of the things that brought me pleasure about reading about this movie is it wasn't one of those tense sets either. This was like a very free, fun-loving cast to work with. Like, these guys had a lot of fun making the movie. Everybody enjoyed working with each other here. So There's just so many things that now that I know some of the facts about the movie, and fall being my favorite season, it's just a pleasure to watch every fucking year for me. I will absolutely put it on every year.
This is definitely a movie I need to rewatch. It's been far too long since I've seen it. It's probably been close to like a decade for me, honestly. Like, it has nothing to do with the movie being bad or anything else. Life, time gets in the way, and it's been on that list, and I haven't seen any of the sequels, and it's one of those ones I feel like I need to bridge that gap a little bit. I need to clear that up, even if they're one and dones.
There's so many movies that you have to watch as well just to keep up.
You can't do that nowadays.
Yeah, no, it's impossible.
But yeah, there's actually one of the things I actually do really love about Pumpkinhead is I want to say the gentleman that actually plays Pumpkinhead himself, the one that's actually behind the mask, is Tom Woodruff Jr., which he's done. This guy was in everything too. He was also the Gilman in the Monster Squad.
Oh, right on, yeah.
He's also one of the ones, like, along with like Stan Winston, where it's just he was engulfed in any monster. Like, he was always behind the mask in a lot of these kind of movies. The monster mask, not so much like he was a creature. He was a feature behind the creature.
And it's weird that it was hard to find a lot that wasn't just common knowledge already, because I feel like I don't hear friends talking about this movie when I go, hey, what's your favorite? Obviously, everybody brings up Aliens or Halloween or, your original slashers and sci-fis and shit, but nobody brings up Pumpkinhead, and I think it's a damn shame. It's one of those ones that should be watched more often for sure.
Like we said in the beginning, it's one of those hidden gems, that it's a hidden gem in our generation, and it's a forgotten gem in this current generation.
Absolutely.
It definitely needs to be talked about more. I want to say it's one of those movies that it was erased as well, just because it was just kind of like shot it, done, forgotten about.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a bad movie when it came out too. I don't think it really bombed. Like bombed in like the generic way that horror movies bombed back in the day.
This is '88. There's a lot going on in movies and shit.
It was kind of like when horror movies were kind of dying too. When Chucky kind of brought things back up.
Yeah.
One thing I always hate when I went out trick or treating, I love dressing up. I love going door to door. That's the fun of trick or treating.
Hell yeah.
Even this time of the year, because when fall comes around, you get Halloween candy.
Yeah.
But one thing I fucking hate, except for this movie, is bad candy. I'm proud of that one. It's bad. It's not good.
Welcome back, kids, to the Psychotronic FM Halloween show. This is Chili Billy. It's station 66.6. Ghouls, werewolves, vampires, ghosties with the mosties.
You guys ready for tonight?
It's Halloween, or as we like to call it, Hell Hallows Eve.
But all right, so Bad Candy came out in 2020, like 2021 a little bit. It was kind of forgotten because it was kind of around COVID around that time, so it didn't really get that much. Wasn't that big.
Oh, there was so many. Yeah, everything that could keep you out of a movie theater.
It was a straight to streaming movie as well, or like it was straight to VOD. The synopsis of the movie is: on Halloween night in New Salem, radio DJs Chili Billy from Corey, that's played by Corey Taylor, which is why I know this movie.
Yeah.
And Paul from that's played by Zach Galligan from Gremlins. So those were the two reasons why I had to watch this movie. They tell a twisted anthology of terrifying local myths that lead to a grim end for small town residents. So, directed and written by Scott B. Hansen, Desiree O'Connell, and one of the other writers was Thacker Hoffman.
Nice.
So the reason I came across this movie was Corey Taylor.
Absolutely.
I feel like those go hand in hand when it comes to horror and heavy metal, at least. And hopefully anyone that's watching this at least knows who's Slipknot is, or Stone Sour, or Corey motherfucking Taylor.
Right.
He's out there. He's done other movies. Like one of his first movies that he's done, I think, was Fear Clinic with Robert Englund, which is another movie I highly recommend. Like it's not much like this movie, it's not a great movie, but it is enjoyable. And if you're into horror movies, let alone anthologies, and into generic, basic horror,
You've probably watched a worse movie than this one for sure.
And that's the thing. So almost like speaking of that, so this movie reminds me a lot of Trick or Treat.
Because, the Ozzy Osbourne.
Like a little bit of like the Ozzy Osbourne, Gene Simmons thing. You have two rock stars, but Gene Simmons playing the radio DJ is the one that started all of this.
That was so good.
So that's kind of like
very opposite.
With Corey Taylor and Zach Galligan being like the DJs, and they're doing the wraparound. So they're initiating these stories and pushing the stories in because they are talking about the local lore and stuff. So it's the way that plays out is actually, it works out pretty decently well. So they do the wraparound and they initiate the stories that everyone's going into. Like the first one is much like Trick or Treat, where they, instead of this one, it has a shithead dad like pretty much bullying his daughter and saying, get in, you're grounded, no more trick-or-treating. He's tearing down the Halloween decorations. Very generic.
Fucking up the vibe.
That's the thing. Like, I think you can't really do a Halloween anthology or a fall anthology movie without someone hating Halloween and tearing down decorations. One of the basic generic, I think, one of those rules. You know, the whole joke on the black person dies first.
Yeah.
Even though they never really do actually die first. Like, it's kind of funny on how that trope came about. Never happening. You know, the second stories is the whole trope on finding razor blades and all this stuff in candy. So you actually have an old man putting razor blades in candy. Like that whole scene is pretty fun and enjoyable because you have, much like Sam in Trick or Treat, there's I don't think they ever really said the name, a clown demon looking motherfucker.
I love a good creepy clown.
And that's the thing. Like, it's only like a clown if you think of it as the outfit. And I think like the demon had like a red nose, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
But otherwise it had like a demon face.
Perfect.
It was chances of this being actually pretty good. It just, the audience wasn't there at the time. I feel like this might be the next Trick or Treat.
Ooh.
Because the heart's there a little bit, but the effects aren't as good as Mike Doherty's.
I see.
All right. I feel like that's the only thing that's going to be kind of like, no, bad candy is just bad. Like, I can't argue that because it's not. I enjoy it. It's at least a one and done movie to begin with. Because one thing that was the biggest story out of all of them was they start off going into a small venue where they're playing metal music, of course.
Oh yeah.
Very generic metal. At that, like something that you would hear like if you go into like a bar and they're just playing fucking almost wannabe heavy metal.
I see.
Type shit.
Yeah.
You know, not Leonard Skinner or freaking Motley Crue metal, but you know, something kind of almost wannabe Cradle of Filth.
All right.
type.
All right.
But this is the longest one stories throughout all of it because this created a wraparound to all the other stories. Is you are following a drug dealer that's handing out drugs, and you follow his death on top of him passing out drugs, and they're causing other people's deaths, and then they show up on other people's stories, and it's
kind of gets passed around like a virus.
Pretty much in a weird way. Like I said, that's why I feel like it's a lot like Trick or Treat, because it feels like all these stories are happening on one night during the same incident, even though this is supposed to be talking about lore and the stories that happened. So it's just, I think that's where the whole wraparound kind of falls apart, because it's supposed to be talking about, like I said, stories on different nights. When it felt like, these are individual stories that happened all on one night. Whatever, you know. I mean, if you're getting way too much into horror movies on that end, where it's like it just doesn't make sense. This really isn't kind of the genre for you. At least these kind of movies are not the movies that you want to watch.
It didn't pull together like Pulp Fiction. It bounced around hard, but pulled together in the end.
Yeah, it was pretty much like a boxing match afterwards. Like you won the fight, but you have a couple concussions. You know, you got cauliflower ear. Like you're kind of fucked there, man. But yeah, if you're a fan of Corey Taylor, give this movie a fucking watch.
I'll have to.
It's definitely for this season. It feels like Halloween. It hits that vibe incredibly well. I'll post a demon clown thing so you have an idea what it looks like, and it doesn't look like Art the clown or anything else. Like it's its own individual creepy thing.
Yeah.
which this movie was also supposed to start off a universe.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was supposed to be like a Bad Candy universe, where the other one was Virginia Bitches, which I don't think really went anywhere. I know they were on Indiegogo like 4 years ago, but there, I think Corey Taylor was supposed to pop up in it again. A lot of other heavy metal musicians, like was it Alyssa White Glutes from like Arch Enemy?
Yeah.
But I think both leads from Butcher Babies was supposed to be in it. Yeah. So I mean, it's supposed to be like actually a heavy metal.
I like that
movie, but
so it's like a sequel without it being too directly tied to the
same universe type of thing.
Nice.
I think even Bill Moseley was signed on to do it for a period of time. But
that would have been gold.
Yeah, like I remember talking to like when I saw Bill Moseley, I was like, "Oh yeah, I've been helped out with like Virginia Bitches," and he just laughed and I was like, "Oh yeah, Virginia Bitches." I'm like, I don't know what that laugh means.
Son of a bitch.
Like, is that like it's not going to go anywhere, or is that just a, like I hope it goes somewhere kind of laugh? Like it's a fun script. I just at the same time, when you're dealing with that many musicians, you have to deal with tours and their own personal family life and all that shit. So
yeah,
unfortunately, I think that's a movie that's going to get shelved and never seen. It would have been good.
Hollywood's rough these days, even for a horror movie. It's supposed to be free range.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be punk rock, you know what I mean? Just fucking go at it. It's got a feeling, it's got a vibe. They're not letting everything fly. But they're trying to make you vomit with things like Art the Clown.
Right. Supposedly the terrorist act of his vomiting.
Yeah.
I'm saying that because I know a bad joke. I don't really care. But one of the articles was like 9 people walked out in the first 10 minutes vomiting and all that stuff. And then another article was like, 11 people walked out. I'm like, 9/11. Interesting.
Weird.
Coincidental. Like I think someone else has a dark sense of humor too, which I like those people.
Yeah, not to shit on Art the Clown or anything like that. No. Like I really do enjoy that. I just find it weird that it's acceptable over here but unacceptable over here. You know, we can't make that movie, but why? No, bring back individual directors and shit like that. It's all
bring back indie
studio.
movies.
Yeah, it's too studio driven these days. Sometimes. I get why some things need to stay like untouched and stuff like that. To be quite frank, I'm sick of seeing things get remade, like in a horrible fashion at that. Like
when it's just for the money.
Right. I feel like there are certain ways to bring things back and do that. Like I really appreciate the way Chucky did it. I mean, you'll have a lot of original going on with some new. I like the way Ghostbusters did it. You have a lot of some original with some new, and you got some. Like handing down lineage going on there, so it's still struck to the core there. There's those ones in the middle that I fucking hate though. So and it's things like that I'm like, ugh. I mean, I saw what you're trying to do, but fuck.
Yeah, and like that's one of the things. Like there are some movies that you just can't fucking remake, because the original was so great, or the original had so much going on, where if they remade this movie, it wouldn't go anywhere. I don't think that you could remake this movie, period. I don't know who you could replace this actor with.
Oh, all right. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So the movie I'm going to be talking about came out the year of my birth, 1991. This is when I actually became a true horror fan. It was in 1991. That was my birth date. But Ernest Scared Stupid.
There's nothing under the bed. Nothing under the bed.
You thought you'd seen the last of him.
Oh, Snuffy, it's just you.
But guess who's back? It's Ernest P. Worrell.
Dumber and dumber.
In his most frightening movie ever.
You can't replace him.
No, you can't.
That's one of those ones you can't fucking no.
You can't replace Jim Varney.
No.
Like this is like his Halloween. Quick synopsis real quick so we get this out of the way before I forget. Directed by John R. Cherry III. And Ernest accidentally unleashes an ugly troll that All right. Ernest accidentally unleashes an ugly troll that plots to transform children into wooden dolls in the town of Briarville, Missouri.
Yeah, it feels like they kept a little bit of that troll lineage with the wooden dolls and things like that and ugly trolls.
This is a great...
If I remember correctly, doesn't he like kill them by like milk.
By Miak. Because, I know it's like completely spoiler. If you haven't seen this fucking movie,
what are you doing?
Go rent it. Like, it's I think like $4 on any streaming service. Like, as much of a kid movie as it is, because if you know who Jim Barney is, it's a kid. Like, he is a great kid.
Yeah, he's definitely child actor, or not child actor, but yes, he did his movies for the kids and shit like that. Like Ernest, Stupid was like
he also did
collection of movies.
Saved Christmas. He did Jail. He did like Africa. He did like all these like in the army. Like he did all these different versions of, but he always played himself.
Yeah,
you know, he played a moron, and that played into the whole story, but. The whole milk thing, because like spoiler, that's how you kill this guy, the troll, because they have the witch there. Because that's also another great thing about this movie is it's a witch movie.
Oh, okay,
well,
yeah. Because it's been so long since I've seen this.
So that's one of my things I love about this movie is because America does not have any lore. We really don't have any lore. We don't have.
We are a melting pot, so we kind of soak in other people's lore and mix it with. Some kind of new twist.
We are the Christians of the countries. We take from other things that we like and make it our own.
Absolutely.
But we don't have anything original. Our original is reused, which other countries are the same way when it comes to other beliefs. You know, I mean, like Ireland has like leprechauns and all this shit. And like, it's just all we had was the Salem witch trials, which they kind of play upon the whole witch trials with this whole thing because the troll is captured and buried, and I wish I could remember the whole thing that ye who knocks like on this tree 3 times and repeats this phrase, and which Ernest does.
Another one that brings back childhood memories. Like even the things that they used in the movie, it dates itself so hard.
It is such a dated movie.
Like, don't they use super soakers? Like particular super soakers from the 90s. You're like,
there's a treehouse. They have a treehouse fight in it for no fucking reason for the most part. Where the pizza props that they use when they fling them was actually the same props from one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies.
Yes.
So
they've been recycling that whole fucking movie.
So, like that kind of date, like again, that dates this movie so much. I'll finish the Miak story real quick. So when they look in the book to find out how to kill the troll, which was like a mother's love, like undying love, or the page was like stuck together, or like part of it got ripped, and it ripped out the L, like the L or whatever. So it was just Miak. So it's like he was trying to find Miak and all that shit. But it was actually milk, and it's just
God.
This movie is gross in so many different ways. The troll is so fucking amazing. I'm gonna post a troll here, but the effects are from none other than the Chiodo brothers.
Yep.
I feel like I always feel like I mispronounce the Chiodo.
I definitely do every time I see the name. So I had to sound it out slowly.
Like I always want to think of like the metal band, the Chiodos.
Yeah.
Because it's about the same way. But you know who we're talking about? The ones that they're probably most famous for. I want to say Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
And that's one of those ones that I'm surprised they haven't remade yet. But
I think there's rumor has it that they were trying to do it for a hot minute, but
if they're going to be in charge of it, then more power to them. But it's awesome that they reuse their shit just to make Ernest Scared Stupid. Like that's great.
That's why the troll looks so good with its double nose, its drool and grime.
A little extra here and there and change the paint job, but yep, it's been haunting you since the early 80s. The same fucking creature. Like, let's bring it back a decade later and call it good.
Like that's one. Like they are. This is almost going to be like a legacy episode right here, but it's like they've done so much art. They are proficient in almost every art style out there. They do incredible work. They do a lot of cons where they actually show off how to apply makeup and do makeup and all this stuff as well. And they show off their costumes. Like they know that they're loved.
Hell
like
yeah.
in our community. Which,
absolutely.
Like, yeah, the movie might be shit, but it's still good. It's still fun.
No, like, yeah, absolutely. I feel like those two movies are held the same way. Like, you're watching it because you enjoyed it, not necessarily because it's It is a cult classic, but not because it broke the box office. I rented it like 8 times from Blockbuster because that's, the era I grew up in.
It's kind of weird how it dates. I can't really say much about this movie because this movie doesn't really say much. It's just a fun.
It's a great introduction to horror. Like don't get me wrong. Like
it's
Jurassic
scary.
Park does that same thing,
Yeah.
but they keep it more on the action side. I felt like this was them trying to dip their feet into horror, but still keep it child friendly at the same time. And when you're watching that, and then you get older and you go back and watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space, you're like, oh, wait a minute, something's linking up here.
I think this is like that one where is that perfect gateway into your kid is into horror movies. You don't know what to show them, but you know that they are a fun kid.
Yeah.
Like personality-wise, they know like they're interested in these weird, zany, fucking contraptions that he ends up building.
Right.
They're not entirely scared of creepy monsters, like actually like scary-looking monsters.
Yeah.
Because it's not like that playful, like. Again, we talked about like Hocus Pocus or Halloween Town. Those movies, like those creatures, are not really scary. They're fun. They're family friendly. This movie is family friendly, but it's
a touch of creep factor. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like if you catch a kid rereading your Ghost book or your Goosebumps books, you should definitely let them watch this fucking movie, man.
I think that's it. Like if they're watching Goosebumps, I think this might be a good movie for them.
Absolutely, if they can handle Goosebumps, they could sure shit.
Jack Black.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him do it, but I feel like Jack Black might be like the only one that could do Jim Varney movies.
I don't want to see it, but I absolutely agree with you.
I don't feel like I could.
I want to say it's because of Kung Fu Panda, though. That's what's brought me there. He's goofy. You like to see him around.
Like he is up there in age. Like I'm pretty sure like he couldn't really do. I'm pretty sure he still could, but I'm not saying that old people can't do it. I just don't know if he could actually do what Jim did. Jim was old too at the time,
very,
though. So
very facial with his acting. You know what I mean? Like he definitely made a lot of goofy ass faces.
That's why I feel like Jack Black could kind of do it a little bit because he kind of has the same.
Yeah, he's very, very active.
He's a character.
Yeah, he is a walking cartoon like Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey wouldn't do this.
Jim Carrey wouldn't. I don't think Jim Carrey could do this. He's also done playing like stupid characters for your entertainment. Like,
yeah,
those
like
are
the only
his
stupid
words.
characters he does is Sonic.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's the stupid character, but that playful.
Well, I mean that is why he played Sonic though, is because he wants the younger generation to enjoy the movies and shit like that. You know what I mean? He's he's just done with The Mask or things like that. But The Mask is also a comic book, so.
Yeah, so if you've seen this movie and if you have an idea who would be a perfect replacement for Jim Varney, I mean, let us know. Actually, put that in the comments.
Yeah, I'd like to know who everybody would think would make a good replacement for that, because that is definitely an icon I never thought of replacing in the movies at all. Like
he's a forgotten one. Like he's a forgotten 90s icon, 80s, 90s.
Well, every time I watch it, I'm not like, you know what? If they redid this, I'm like, they should leave it the fuck alone. But if they did redo it, who would you put up there? I mean,
Kevin Hart.
Fuck that. Keep him. No, he's a funny guy, but I don't think that's.
Now. I mean,
I don't think that's.
He made Borderlands a good movie.
I wouldn't know. I still got hate for the fact that it doesn't have enough violence, but I'm still gonna watch it.
Oh man, movie that I ended up watching recently that is a fucking phenomenal movie, and it made me feel claustrophobic in the forest.
Ooh.
Not many movies could actually do that.
Weird.
But it feels like fall. This feels like, especially up here in Washington, if you're out there in the woods or whatever, this feels like that kind of movie, which I don't believe it was actually shot here in the Pacific Northwest because the plants don't look the same. But it's Azrael from that with Samara Weaving.
Oh, all right.
In it, directed by E.L. Katz, written by Simon Barrett, and this movie just came out in 2024. So it feels like a woods movie. Like it is a woods movie. No one speaks because this group of people, her and her boyfriend, I want to say, they've all had their like tonsils, or not tonsils, but their voice box pretty much cut out, so they can't really speak. So they could still kind of make noise. They could whistle. That's how they kind of communicate. But that's the thing, though. When they communicate, they have these hunters that come after and they want to sacrifice Samara Weaving, her boyfriend, or they want to sacrifice these things to these monsters, these underground, these chuds.
Yeah.
Actually, chud works incredibly well because they are cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers, because they do come from underground and they eat blood. There's so much blood and guts and just gooiness.
Yeah.
Like, it's like when Walking Dead was good, kind of blood and gore. But it's, a movie where she's getting chased and trying to survive in this movie, and her emotes when she's in pain. She does pain so incredibly well on screen. But if you want to watch a good fall movie, I think this is going to be playing on Shudder probably by the time this is airing. So it might be on Shudder now. Not sponsored, Shudder.
Fuckers.
There's a free one. But no, I highly recommend this one. It is not for everyone because it is a more relatively quiet movie. There's no one really talks in this movie except for a small little part. It is a pretty quick movie. I don't want to spoil more of it, but I do highly recommend watching this movie. It is really fun and very enjoyable, and this probably would have worked on our Woods episode. If I would have seen this on our Woods episode, I would have done this movie and actually probably went and rewatched it to take notes. It's like I said, it's a solid movie.
All right, I'll have to check that out because I feel like I've been having troubles keeping up with everything they're pumping out this year. They put a lot of fucking good movies out this year for horror.
A lot of it streaming, not much on the big screen. Like, this is going to be streaming here before you know it.
Yeah.
No, it's really hard to keep up to. No, so this is the time of the year, which lasts all year round, but the season doesn't last all year round. Unfortunately, the actual season, it doesn't last all year round. So as the leaves fall, you're going door to door to try to steal someone's candy.
Or smash a pumpkin.
Just think, if it's bad candy or your foot's hovering over that pumpkin, just imagine it's fucking Bridget.
It's fucking Bridget.
Smash that shit.
Get that shit.
Oh, fuck.